Welcome back, folks, to my WrestleRant video series where I give my in-depth analysis of all the pay-per-views that I watched in WWE Network. Today I'll be talking about the 2006 installment of Cyber Sunday after Taboo Tuesday was done away with. No more pay-per-views on Tuesdays, going back to the traditional Sunday slots, starting with 2006's Cyber Sunday. So kicking off the show was the undefeated Umaga taking on an opponent of the viewer's choice. It was either Kane, the Sandman, or Chris Benoit. It would end up being the Big Red Monster Kane. So a good match from Umaga and Kane, really nothing all that great, as good of a matchup that you would expect from who was involved. But a good way to keep Umaga's momentum going, keep him undefeated, keep on slowly giving him more and more legitimate opponents. Kane at this point in time was not the most credible superstar in the world, but he was a hell of a lot more credible then than he is today, that's for sure. But even still, though, a good matchup for what it was. Best way to kick off the show? Maybe, but, it was decent for what it was. Umaga's undefeated streak is still intact. Kane succumbs to defeat. Really nothing more to say more than that. I think the rivalry continued on a little bit longer than this. I think they had another match on Raw where the loser would have to leave Raw for SmackDown, and Umaga would win that too. But even still, though, good match to kick off the show. Up next, a fatal four-way match between four teams: Crime Time, the Highlanders, Charlie Haas and Viscera, and Lance Cade and Trevor Murdoch. So, this match of the stipulation was either that it was going to be Texas Tornado, Fatal Four-Way, or Tag Team Turmoil. The match ended up being Texas Tornado. So, a very good matchup from these four teams. I mean, Charlie Haas and Viscera was a really odd duo, but they made the most of the team. They had a lot of fun action in this contest considering who was involved. A lot of back and forth between all the four teams. In the end, Crime Time came out on top. And I could have sworn, before watching the show, I thought that this matchup was to earn a new number one contender team to the World Tag Team titles, and I guess that was not the case. There was nothing up for grabs here. That would have helped this matchup a little bit. It was a little random to throw four teams into a matchup without anything on the line. But even still, though, it was good for what it was. I'm not shitting on the matchup, but it would have meant more if there was something on the line, like a World Tag Team title shot or something. But Crime Time goes over. That's about it. They would get released, I think, a short time later. Was it in 2006 or in 07? I think it was in 06. No, not after this, actually. I think they got released in 07. And then they were brought back in 08. I can't remember exactly. But anyway, though, Crime Time goes over here. Intercontinental Championship up for grabs in our next matchup here. Jeff Hardy taking on an opponent of the viewer's choice. It was either Carlito, Shelton Benjamin, or Johnny Nitro. Carlito would win the poll with 62%, so a large following for Carlito, who was a fellow fan favorite in this contest. He would show some signs of being a heel here. He would utilize some dirty tactics. So that was a bit weird considering the fact that he was supposed to be a face at the time. He would be a face for the next 6 or 7 months, so it wasn't like they were trying to turn him or anything, so that was really weird. But even still, a very, very good matchup from Jeff Hardy and Carlito, who have always had great chemistry together. Go back to their 15th anniversary Raw show in the ladder match for that very same title, the IC Championship. But even still, great match from Jeff Hardy and Carlito. Jeff Hardy still your Intercontinental Champion. Up next, Rated-RKO taking on the duo of Triple H and Shawn Michaels, collectively known as, I think you might know him, D-Generation X, with a special guest referee of the viewer's choice. It was either the returning former ex-Raw general manager, Eric Bischoff, Vince McMahon, or Jonathan Coachman. In the end, it would be the returning Eric Bischoff. So I think I might have said this in my 04 review, but I would love, if only for one more appearance from Eric Bischoff on WWE TV. He hasn't been seen since the 15th anniversary show. So I would love to get him back at least one more time now that he's gone from TNA. It would be great. Easily the best Raw general manager in WWE history, my opinion anyway. So it was great to see him come back for this contest, but obviously be siding with the heels. In the end, Rated-RKO went over. Edge and Orton get one over the babyfaces, thus continuing the feud between them and DX. So a good match here. Nothing like too great, but it got a lot of good time. A very, very good contest, and Eric Bischoff played his role well as a special guest referee. Up next for the Women's Championship, the vacant Women's Championship. I'm not going to say the fucking abeyant word because I hate whenever WWE used that last year. But anyway, though, after Trish Stratus beat Lita for the Women's Championship at Unforgiven, they had a tournament to crown a new Women's Champion. It came down to Lita and Mickie James. Good matchup from them. Way better than anything that the Divas could have done if it was a Fulfill Your Fantasy Battle Royal like we saw at the 04 and 05 Taboo Tuesday shows. So this was a major improvement over that bullshit. Lita, in the end, defeated Mickie James to win back that Women's Championship. Although she would lose it again a month later to Mickie James, and then Lita would then leave the company. So why they gave the title to Lita here, only to have her leave, was a bit weird. Granted, it was on her own terms, so maybe I don't know if she was planning her departure before that or what the deal was, but it was a bit weird to give her the title here, only to give it back to Mickie James a month later at Survivor Series. So it was what it was. I mean, it wasn't a Fulfill Your Fantasy Battle Royal, so that's a good thing. But the stipulation was a Lumberjill matchup. And those matches are always clusterfucks. I mean, this matchup was a little bit like that with the outside interference and all that kind of bullshit. But the inside action, the action within the ring was very, very good between Lita and Mickie James, as only you would expect from these two. So up next for the World Tag Team Championships, Ric Flair and a partner of the WWE Universe's choosing, taking on the Spirit Squad, Kenny and Mikey, for the World Tag Team titles. Now the choices were Roddy Piper, Dusty Rhodes, and Sergeant Slaughter. Roddy Piper ended up winning the vote there with Ric Flair and went on to win the World Tag Team titles with him. And Spirit Squad, I think, would reign as World Tag Team Champions for a total of like 6 months or something like that. So they had a very long reign as World Tag Team Champions, so the crowd popped big when Ric Flair and Roddy Piper won the belts. And this would be before Roddy Piper was, a shell of his former self. Like, if he wrestled today, I wouldn't be happy. Like, he wrestled in a match against, like, The Miz or something on Raw a couple of years ago, and that was, like, a disaster. So this was before he kind of was out of shape and whatnot. He was still in pretty good shape by this point in time, so it wasn't a complete disaster of a matchup. It didn't go too long. It got about 7 minutes, but that was as long as it needed to be in order for it to be a good match. But also, Dusty Rhodes and Sergeant Slaughter come down to ringside to help their friends, Ric Flair and Piper, win the World Tag Team titles and to rival Johnny, Nikki, and Mitch on the ringside of the Spirit Squad. So a good, fun matchup here with new World Tag Team Champions being crowned in Ric Flair and Roddy Piper. And that brings us to our main event between King Booker, John Cena, and Big Show in a triple threat Champions of Champions matchup. So for the first time in WWE history, the WWE Champion, the World Heavyweight Champion, and ECW Champion clashed in the same match. And it would also happen a couple years later, actually, on an episode of SmackDown. I think it was when they moved to My Network TV 9. It was a triple threat match between Jericho, and Matt Hardy, I believe, if I remember correctly. It was from 2008, but this was 2 years prior to that. So the viewers got to choose which championship would be on the line: the World Heavyweight title, the WWE title, or the ECW Championship from the Big Show. And the World title would end up being on the line. I guess people really wanted to see John Cena win that WWE, or to win that World Heavyweight title to add to his accolades. So that was pretty good, I guess. I mean, it made sense from a storyline standpoint, but I'm not really sure how they figured this out beforehand. I don't know if the voting was rigged or whatnot, but I mean, it really made a difference. I mean, I know that fans weren't going to choose the ECW Championship, but what if they chose the WWE title? Would they have still done what they did? Because in the end, Kevin Federline ended up interfering and costing John Cena the match, leading to that 3-month-long feud between them and that whole joke of a storyline that was kind of bullshit. But, looking back on that was kind of a joke. But anyway, though, what if John Cena's WWE title was for grabs? Would they still have had him, had Kevin interfere? Or what the deal was there? I don't know exactly sure. I'm not very sure of what was of what the thinking was behind that, if what world title was supposed to be on the line. It probably was rigged. I mean, that's something they don't really tamper with. I mean, with all the other stuff, it didn't really matter. But with this match, it kind of did, because the world title's up for grabs, and one champion could have had 2 titles if that was the case, and we could have gotten one world champion many years before we eventually would in 2013. So I don't know how they did that. I don't know if this was rigged. It probably was, but I just thought that was interesting. But it was a very good matchup, though. It was pretty good for what it was. Not the greatest match of all time, but the stipulation kind of made this mean more than it probably would have. I mean, if you put King Booker, John Cena, and Big Show in one ring, it's not the most exciting match in the world, but it's going to be a good matchup if you put a world title up for grabs, so a lot of people were intrigued to see who the champion of champions would be, and in the end it would be King Booker, successfully retaining his World Heavyweight Championship against the WWE and ECW champions respectively. So a good matchup there, kind of served the purpose in kicking off the feud between Kevin and John Cena, even though it wasn't something a lot of people wanted to see, but that happened. I mean, a lot of people in attendance were like, what the fuck is this? Like, people didn't even really react when he interfered and came down to the ring. So that was kind of a joke, but like I said before, King Booker, the champion of champions, and still your World Heavyweight Champion. So on the whole, a really lackluster show, not a lot to rave about here. Let's go down the card real quickly. Umaga and Kane, decent matchup. The Fatal 4-Way, the Texas Tornado matchup with nothing up for grabs, which is mind-boggling. Fun for what it was, but it only went about 4 or 5 minutes, so it really was forgettable. Jeff Hardy and Carlito, a very good matchup between them over the IC Championship. Rated-RKO and DX, Very good matchup between them as well, but they would have better matches down this pike, and as well as that Survivor Series when the two teams would clash in a traditional Survivor Series tag team match. So that was that, but nothing too memorable there. Lita and Mickie James, good match, not great. The World Tag Team title match was what it needed to be, given who was involved, but new World Tag Team Champions crowned. And in the main event, a solid matchup between Booker, Cena, and Big Show, nothing great, but it was memorable since a new champion, not a new champion was crowned, but a new champion of champions was named, and not Booker T, and King Booker. So, on the whole, though, a lackluster show. The only real matches I would suggest you go out of your way to watch would be the IC title match and the Rated-RKO DX match as well. If only for the return of Eric Bischoff, because I thought that was pretty notable, too, and he played his role well in that contest. So, that being said, lackluster show on the whole. Would not suggest that you go back and watch it. I thought Taboo Tuesday 05 from the year prior was a lot better. My opinion, anyway. You can go back and watch it for yourself, but I thought 05 Taboo Tuesday was better than Cyber Sunday of 2006, which kind of set the stage for the rest of the Cyber Sunday shows in 07 and in 08, respectively, which I'll get around to reviewing here on the channel in the next couple of weeks. So with that being said, always appreciate you guys viewing the videos. Really does mean a lot to me. If you want to support the show, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll be back in the next couple of days with my review of the 2007 installment of Cyber Sunday. And in the meantime and in between time, you can find me on Twitter at Graham G. Matthews or Facebook at Graham G. Matthews, on Twitter at WrestleRant. And until my next video, thanks for watching, guys. I'm Graham G. Matthews, and I'll catch you guys next week.